gentlemen, my name is Sheffius, and today I'm joined by our 3 finalists here on Master Draft. Today, we're going to be determining who will be our Master Drafter of 2020. Now, contestants, in front of you is a basket that contains 3 ingredients that you must use. In your baskets, you will find an Orn, a Camille, and a Timor. As it's the final, we've added a special twist. Each of you will be representing a different LEC team. Frosk, please show who you'll be representing. Frosk will be representing G2 Esports. Medic, you'll be representing Origin. And Yamato Cannon, you'll be representing Team Vitality. Now, each of you have 40 minutes to prepare your Master Draft. Are you ready?
Yeah, let's go.
Now, in 3, 2, 1, get the draft done. As an experienced drafter, Yamato is hoping to reclaim what he once had, being good at something.
This is the easiest challenge of my life. Have you seen the kick W's I'm up against? It's gonna be easy. You see, the D in MEBD stands for drafting. I am the prodigy of generations and generations of top-tier drafting.
Frosk seems to be taking a unique approach to today's draft. A former barista turned doctor, turned caster, turned detective, turned drafter, Medic is hoping to use his vast experience in today's challenge. Let's have a chat with the man himself. Well, hey Medic, how's it going?
Hi, Sheffius.
Hi, yeah. You feeling good?
Yeah, really pleased, really pleased.
So how are you going to be representing Origin today?
Well, I know people in the LEC, they love fast-paced and exciting action,
yes.
so I decided on vanilla ice cream.
Vanilla?
Yeah.
Vanilla, that's exciting.
Yeah.
It isn't. So tell me, are you concerned at all that it's going to melt?
Oh, no, not at all. It's been in for 25 minutes. That's the double 24 power spike. That's the perfect time.
25 minutes. Wow, didn't realize we were at the spring finals once again. Anyway, best of luck, Medic. Best of luck. I'm sure you'll be fine.
It's fine. It's fine.
Well, yeah, Sheffius did shake my confidence a little bit, but it's my time to shine. I need to prove I'm more than just Xpeke's vanity project.
I have absolutely no idea what Frosk is doing.
Anyway, 3, 2, 1. The draft is now done. You're done. Now, let's begin the judging. Starting with Medic. Why don't you present to us what you've made?
Okay, so today I've got for you a little bit of a gamble. I decided to pick really exciting flavors, so I've got the vanilla in there, and then I added a bit of Ezreal and a bit of Gragas to spice it up a little bit, get some scaling on the side.
Medic, this is awful. This is absolutely awful. You're supposed to be representing Origin. Like, what is this?
Maybe awful, but it's still top 3.
Yamato, please present your dish.
For you, I have my grandmother's special recipe. I added the Senna, the fasting Senna of course, and the Sejuani to cover up for any weaknesses in the composition.
Wow, a very well-rounded comp coming out from Yamato. You can see that he's managed to find lanes that he can play around, he has good scaling, he's even found a way to get gold onto the Teemo. Very impressive. But he forgot one crucial thing. His team was Team Vitality. You thought that a team like that could play this composition?
Of course, I think they...
Oh, you were thinking, were you? Why didn't you do that when you picked Team Vitality in the first place? What a shame, what an absolute shame.
My turn. So, Chef, I had G2, so I was thinking, Yahtzee. G2, it's all going to the same place anyway. I figure, speed it up.
Frosk, I think you're missing a champion.
Am I?
Is that Nocturne in the mid lane?
Boom.
And with that, Froskurin is our Master Drafter of 2020. Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes our Master Drafter of 2020. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you in the next one.
Welcome to Berlin, Germany, home of the best region in the world, dare I said it. The script had been served to us on a silver platter as the top teams face off to decide who's the best in the LEC. Behind them, the race for playoffs keeps getting closer, with Rogue fighting to keep their spot in the top 6. I'm QuickShot, joined by Ender and Frostgoran, and in Reddit Check today, we'll tell you all about fasting Senna and learn who's the funniest player in the league. Spoilers, it's Jankos. But first, as many of you are aware, the international situation regarding the COVID-19 coronavirus has been evolving quickly, and us here at the LEC have been closely monitoring it over the past few weeks. After evaluating multiple scenarios, we will be cancelling our Budapest show and instead hosting the finals here in our LEC studio in Berlin. It is not a decision made lightly. Our goal always is to deliver you the best show we can while keeping the safety of the audience, the players, as well as our crew in mind. This may not be how we originally planned to do it, but everyone here is moving forward to make the finals ahead of us a great one.
And I think it goes without saying, this is incredibly disappointing news for all of us. I know, me personally, the highlight of my year is always going to be going to these road shows, but in situations like these, we have to just address the fact that safety comes first, and we're keeping that all in mind.
Absolutely the case. So we are 7 weeks in, and each team has 6 games to decide their fate in the spring split. Let's turn our attention to the standings. At the top, G2, Fnatic, and Origin are looking strong, but things could change drastically over the next 28 hours. G2 face OG today, and then Fnatic tomorrow. And when we look at the standings, I see 3 big stories. Number 1, the favorites at the top, 1, 2, 3. Then the hopefuls in the middle, with these teams looking to make it into playoffs and maybe contest the top. And then the heartbreakers, teams at the bottom of the table that could really disrupt what's going to happen in the postseason.
And I really want to start with our top three, our top 3.
They're not free.
Not free in Fnatic, G2, and Origin. We've kind of been saying it all split long, and surprise, surprise, it's still these 3 names that are the first ones that come out of your mouth. But I do want to highlight Origin, because I feel like while they are technically in the top 3, I don't think that they want a technicality there. Origin do not just want to sit on the podium and get served bronze. They want to be competitive to lift the title, and I don't think that they're quite there yet. So for me, it still feels top 2, technically top 3, and then a gap for our middle of the pack.
Right, and I think if we're actually looking at how Origin has played over this entire season, even though they've been at the top, they've gotten more criticism, I feel like, than the other teams around them have, and a lot of their play style comes down to the fact they can beat the teams underneath them really, really easily, but I think they struggle against the Fnatics and G2s.
Let's talk about those teams underneath them, Mad Lions, Misfits, Rogue, XL. Like, it feels to me like Rogue and Misfits are the 2 teams in the hopefuls bracket that could maybe make the jump up. What's your read?
I mean, honestly, right now, I feel like breaking into Fnatic G2 is really hard. If you're going to displace anyone, it's going to be displacing someone like OG. But from Misfits and Rogue, I still don't feel like I have seen enough yet to be like super confident going into the best of 5s, especially saying, hey, 2 very young teams, how do they pan out in a full series? That I'm a little touch and go with.
I mean, best of 5 is always going to be a completely different animal. I do think it is Misfits, though, if anyone, literally tortoise tortoise versus the hare. Right now, I think the meta favors a little bit more to Origin style, but if we have a massive meta shift where you have to be playing more faster-paced early games, then you start to lean back on Misfits and you say, if you give them the opportunity, maybe they do shine. We just simply don't have the tape of it yet for all of these rookies.
And very briefly, of course, SK, Schalke, and Vitality, you can't just disregard them with how close these teams are. If you drop a game to one of these three squads, you could be looking at dropping out of playoffs if you're in that hopefuls bracket.
And it's whatever you want to call it. If you want to stick with the fancy alliteration, you're the Heartbreakers, it's your blue shell, you must respect them, especially Schalke down there. They are a completely different team than where they sit in the standings. It's just unfortunate that they were tripped up at the beginning because they were figuring out what was happening with the roster.
Well, we'll have to see how it plays out. Of course, teams can change their standings very, very quickly. One of the tactics that we saw stepping up last week was the fasting Senna. So, Ender, explain it to me.
Yeah, I'll do just that. I wanted to give a quick explainer on this new playstyle we've been seeing popping up all over the place. And that is, of course, this fasting Senna, which is a lot what it sounds like. Instead of farming, fasting Senna gives up minions in order to prioritize taking Mist. And she does this for two primary reasons. One, since patch 10.3, Mist spawns significantly more frequently on minions Senna doesn't last hit than the one she actually does. And two, when Senna doesn't have to worry about farming, she can spend so much more time harassing the enemy to generate Mist. And the value Senna gains from sacrificing minion kills is higher than if she were to just farm. Consider the gold value of 1 AD is 35 gold. Senna gains 1 AD per Mist on top of the 15% crit and the 25 range for every 20 she gains. So she gets all this while generating gold from her support item, allowing her lane partner to take the majority of the farm. Now, with less income come less expensive items. Fasting Senna should start with a Spectral Sickle and then build lethality. I'm a huge fan of Umbral Glaive personally. Even though it gives you less lethality than a Duskblade or a Yomu's, its vision cleaning passive is exceptionally strong in pro play. Swiftness boots are a good choice, but can be replaced by Lucidity for quick CDR. Now, one thing we may see as people improve at this playstyle is the optimization around when Senna can actually farm. For context, all support items have a penalty which reduces gold earned on minion kills if you're farming too much. The penalty can be avoided, however, if you last hit a maximum of 2 minions per waves. So I would like to see players take this approach to test the limits and min-max to the extreme. G2's bot lane did this last week, and I expect it to catch on. Ultimately, fasting Senna plays very similar to a typical support, and by not farming the majority of minions, is able to generate significantly more Mist than a typical ADC Senna. This playstyle shift has allowed her to remain relevant in the LEC even after being adjusted in previous patches, and that one makes her so scary looking forward to in the coming weeks.
Okay, so I'm not a big numbers person, and if you're not a numbers person either, it essentially works like this. Riot was like, hey, we want to force Senna into the support position.
Whoa, no.
And then the teams were like, hold my non-alcoholic beverage, I bet I can break this.
Okay, let's be clear. ADC Senna had like a 3% win rate higher than support Senna. She was supposed to play both roles pretty much equally, with support being better, so they made changes to make them more neutral.
Is this one of those cases similar to sort of how Ryze and Azir at pro play is just so much more powerful because of the coordination, because of the teamwork, the skill level as well?
Honestly, no. This was just numbers not being correct, where she was getting too many souls when she was farming.
Wait, what?
Well,
Definitely
if we see more Senna today, I absolutely will be picking up from my analysts. Let's move on, and I want to hear from our viewers as to who do you think is going to win our match of the week. Spam G2 or FNC in chat during this epic hype video. G2 and Caps have made good use of that Senna bot lane, and tomorrow we'll see them in our Alienware match of the week. To revel in glory while being on top, that's easy. Nobody is immortal. No one is unbeatable, and eventually, even the best fall. Staying at the top, that's much harder. When you lead the pack, everyone is your enemy, and whether you like it or not, you've got a target on your back. It might be one series, one game, or one moment. That's all it takes. But it can be your series, your game, your moment. Time to step up or get out. There is only room for one at the top.
sliver of life as well. The double flash.
Both teams not only want to beat each other, but also want to show off.
Now they're gonna pitch for another one. They're just getting demands on an instant. Fnatic overstep. Not gonna be able to get anything. The shot. The kill. Oh, dance on him.
Winning the LEC title would be sitting back on the throne that I never thought I would be on.
Can he actually finish the kill? There's the Senna coming in. Rex is taken down with the kickback. Selfmade says not today.
I'm hoping that this is just another 2018 for us where we take everything and we once again take down G2.
Oh, Perks going in though, and G2 shredding through Fnatic.
Fnatic is obviously the second best team in Europe, so we want to make sure that they stay that way.
G2 remain the best team in the LEC.
It's good to be dominant. If anything, it's just what we work for.
I gotta get it on my set.
Not all rivalries are created equal. We have the best rivalry in League of Legends. CLG versus TSM, that hasn't mattered in a long time. KT versus SKT, KT is in 6th place. EDG versus RNG, that hasn't mattered since Uzi actually won a title. Fnatic versus G2 is the most competitive rivalry in League of Legends.
I mean, it's the two most winningest teams in LEC history. 13 domestic titles out of the 14 possible. Right now, they are standing on top of the standings. We just said it 5 minutes ago that we feel it's first and second and then a gap to everybody else. So, like, it's really exciting.
Yeah, I mean, you always get a good show when G2 plays Fnatic too, right? Because even throughout periods of history, like last year, right, G2 was the dominant team over Fnatic. But in the regular season, you had Fnatic coming out with wins. You had these massive, just explosive performances from both sides. It was great stuff.
What is that? That is a lot of opinions and not a lot of eyes.
Ooh. And tell me why you think that, Froskuren.
Because I have all the proof of history to back it up in recency. We've had 2 best-of-5s back-to-back and G2 come out on top. Yes, Fnatic are a good team, but when it comes to finding that final gear, G2 have proven time and time again, they're the ones with the international title that matters.
Ooh, very, very interesting. We'll have to see what happens tomorrow, of course. Tonight, though, G2 are going to be tested to the limit against Origin first. It is another battle on teams sitting in first place. We'll also see if XL can pick up a much-needed win as they are still in the fight to make it into playoffs. I want to spend a little bit of time talking about XL because when you look at today's game for the squad as well as looking forward, Misfits, G2, Fnatic, Origin, this team, out of all the hopefuls to make playoffs, has the most difficult strength of schedule.
They have the most difficult strength of schedule, and they're also sitting 1 game behind playoffs at this moment. So things look really, really dire for this team. They need to be able to find wins, especially in a game like today against Misfits, against other teams around them. Otherwise, their chances are going to go away very quickly.
The only silver lining for Excel is the fact that they do hold the head-to-head against Mad Lions. And I think if it is going to come down to the wire, it's between those teams that I expect. I think that Misfits and Rogue will rise to the top. Mad Lions are inflated in the standings because they picked up those upset victories, and I predict that it will be between Excel and Mad for that final ticket.
And honestly, I favor Excel when you look at this because these two teams, to me, I think it's so much easier to prepare for and to beat Mad Lions right now. Mad Lions are a much more inconsistent team, in my opinion. I think you can ban out the mid laner. I think top lane is very easily exploitable, whereas Excel, they have really solid gears all around. I think it's just trying to mesh them all together and figure out who to put resources on. It's more on them to fix rather than others to exploit.
How does the fact that they've got 4 teams above them out of their next 6 games impact like Excel's chances?
I was literally going to say that. Like, I agree with you if it was in Excel's agency that all they had to do was beat Mad Lions, but they don't. They have to beat other people. And that's not to say that Excel can't also do what Mad did by picking up some of those surprise victories, because they do have to go through all 3 top teams. But right now, strength of schedule is on Mad Lions' side.
And it's very important to note that the other teams in this hopeful bracket, the Rogues, the Misfits, the Mad Lions, they still have to face 2 of either Fnatic, G2, or OG, right? So out of the 6 games, it's still going to be a close race. But if anybody can pick up those surprise wins, that gets you 1 step closer to the postseason, 1 step closer to playoffs. Earlier this split, we decided to put the players on the spot with some hard-hitting questions. This is the 2nd episode of LEC Lightning Round.
Could you do me a favor and just clap once in front of your face? Thank you. Perfect.
Oh, that was like not a very good clap. It's pretty pathetic clap actually. I don't usually clap. It's more for Caps does the clapping thing like in front of the camera.
We're gonna do a lightning round. I'm gonna give you a word or a term, and you need to tell me the first player from the LEC that pops into your mind when I say that.
I don't know. Funny? Funny?
Funny player?
Actually, who's really Jankos? Actually, yeah, he's like really laughing a lot.
Jankos.
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 Jankos. Jankos.
Jankos.
Jankos.
Jankos.
Okay, wait. Should I redo it?
90% of the players, when I ask funny, they say Jankos.
Ah!
Who's 1v9?
Kevs.
Caps.
Caps.
Who's a 1v9 player on the bad team?
Caps. Caps.
Caps.
I
don't know. Caps.
Caps. Caps?
I think I kind of missed the point of lightning round on this go.
Yeah.
Caps.
Caps.
Caps. I mean, I was going to say Jisuke, but he's not even playing LEC anymore.
It counts.
Okay, you think Jisuke.
Skins. Overrated. It can be toxic, no?
Oof. Do I have to like do it fast? Or can I think about it?
Oh my god, man, I don't want to flame someone. I don't know. Karzi.
Nothing actually popped in. I was only thinking about my team, and now nothing popped in. I have to put someone on blast. Okay, I'll say Forgiven.
Forgiven.
That's so hard. Cabochart.
Cabochart?
Cabochart.
Attila.
I don't want to charge talk.
Overrated. Nemesis.
I think I achieved more in one year than his entire career.
Rogue.
Ooh, that's a spicy one. I don't want to be offensive, you know? I want to be like friendly. I don't want to... Okay, upset.
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 I don't know, maybe upset?
Upset.
Oh, I'm not the first. Ooh.
Wait, I need to think. Who is in LEC? He's good and he's underrated. Okay, so it's me.
Maybe me?
Me?
Me.
Me?
Jack Turtle.
Dreams.
Now, half of the players said me.
Who? Oh, me? Oh, yeah,
You
okay.
referred to
No, I was gonna say that, but I was like, oh.
Don't want to be
Yeah, I don't want to be that, yeah.
It's so hard because there's like a list of names that comes in, but they're not all underrated. Oh, I don't know. I know Trick.
I mean, I would have said Kobe, but I mean, he was underrated for some time, but then she got the appreciation, like he got recognized. So I guess Kobe.
Alfari again.
Alfari.
Alfari?
Alfari. Yeah, I mean, he doesn't get any credit for any team he's on because he doesn't really do anything, but he's really good at being a stable player. So he's underrated for what he brings, but he's not overrated because he doesn't get rated, and even if he did, he would be, because I don't feel like he's like someone that influences the outcome of the game very well. But he's someone that will always be a positive contributor to the state of the game, if that makes any sense.
So, Bwipo almost killed the analyst desk.
I hadn't seen that.
I thought the head was just going to keep expanding until it was
felt
the
like
entire screen.
It felt like it. Obviously, the players don't necessarily listen to all of the content we say, because we definitely did not underrate Alfari.
I don't listen to all the content we
2
say.
weeks ago. But that was awesome. What I love is hearing the players like realize that this is lightning round and going, "Oh wait, is this meant to be quick? Can I think about this?"
Okay, let's be clear. Alfari was like the only one, and he answered his question in typical OG style by being late. So
I absolutely love that. Anyways, let's move on. Sakre thinks that they are overrated, but over the next few weeks, Rogue get a chance to live up to all of the hype. Rogue right now, they are clinging on to a playoff spot, and this week they can take a big step towards that postseason. Question to the panel, are they actually overrated? And what do we think about their matchups? Vitality and Mad this weekend.
I mean, overrated in what context? Are people thinking that Rogue are the best team in the LEC? Yeah, probably overrated. But in terms of our Rogue 4th, 5th place in the LEC, which I think is where everyone puts them, maybe if you're like really negative Nancy, you put them in 6th. I'm like, nah, pretty much on the nose right there.
Yeah, like I'm of the opinion right now that this team is not in any real danger of missing playoffs. So if you don't think they're a playoffs team, I can give you that. But honestly, I think Rogue are a very solid team at the moment that don't necessarily have a set identity like a lot of the other teams in our middle of the pack, but are able to do just about anything pretty well.
I think, though, so I agree with you. Rogue are very versatile. They can play multiple different styles. They have wide champion pools. I do think that is also slightly a weakness sometimes. If you don't specialize in something and you try to do too much, it's like running before you can walk. And, like, don't get me wrong, when Rogue are in the groove, they're like walking like Spider-Man. They're jamming out. They're like pointing the finger guns everywhere. But sometimes when they do try to walk on champions that I won't name names, then they fall over, and then it's like, ooh.
I get what you mean, and I think for Rogue, you have to fancy their chances at postseason because next week they've got a difficult week. They play Fnatic and G2. Following that, SK, CHK. This weekend, Vitality and Mad. These are matchups that you favor Rogue in, and then you start looking ahead. What are their expectations when we go to playoffs? This was a team that I think was fairly unanimously expected to be like 4th or 5th before the split began, and they're quite comfortably there.
Yeah, I mean, playing teams around you in the standings, this week 7 has to be their most important week. Yeah. The wins today and tomorrow are going to be the most meaningful and probably the ones that lock them as close into playoffs as possible.
I think the important thing was that Rogue themselves wanted to be the 4th team, or possibly even pushing for top 3. And while I still think that they're in discussion, Misfits have sprinted ahead. And now I think it's that toss-up. Is it Rogue? Is it Misfits? Maybe some of the Mad Lions fans like, oh no, it's us in the background. But that's the hurdle that they need to overcome. And with that is just the consistency required to, no, remember us. We are the 4th best team in the LEC.
It's going to be very interesting to see how Misfits, Mad Lions, XL continue to play out over the next 2 weeks because it's going to pretty much determine who makes it into playoffs. Let's move ahead and look at their opponent's Vitality. Earlier this week, Finn shared some very hot takes with us on Euphoria.
What about matchup against Vitality? Obviously playing against Cabo Finn is always something that's exciting to me in isolation. Yeah. But obviously the rest of the matchup, I feel obviously fairly Rogue favored, but you know, is that something that you take for granted sometimes?
I mean, playing against Cabo is always fun, I think. It's always a bit explosive up there. Last time we played against, I was on Orn against Camille, and I was getting perma-diven, but my champion wasn't broken enough, so I could still solo kill him after. But or Senna assisted solo kill.
Senna assist, yeah.
I think I mean, right now Vitality, I think they're just gonna go all out every weekend. So you need to be careful because if you get complacent, it's really easy to lose. Obviously, you can't just take every win for granted. So even against a team that might look like at the bottom of the standings, we need to prepare well.
I really like the way Finn phrases it because we were saying that Vitality could be one of the teams that is a heartbreaker, and this weekend they made a big move. Veteran mid laner Selfie will be subbing in Forsaken, who, remember, was technically still the sub for Melitza. So who is Selfie? Last time we saw him in the LEC was with H2K back in 2018, and I'm going to ask, Frosk, is Selfie the solution to the problems Vitality are facing?
I mean, anytime you inject a different voice, a different mentality, you can find a hard reset there. Duke went on the record and he made a quote that I want to make sure that I get right, but he basically said, the reason that they haven't been losing isn't because they don't have carries, it's because they don't have confidence and they don't have a leader in game. I don't know if Selfie shores up those problems. I do want to say that I think that Vitality's players in specific have been dealt a bad hand. They weren't set up for success. They are taking a lot of the flame, a lot of the burden from the community. And frankly, I think some of that needs to be shared with the management and the coaching staff behind them, which, in my perspective and how to interact with it, has been pretty vacant, pretty silent. And I think when you have a very young team that have lost their confidence, that can't find their footing, and you're unable to set them up for success to try to foster that and get it back on track, hopefully without any pressure. They're not making playoffs probably. All they can do is play their heart out, maybe pull a blue shell. They can find that stride, but I don't think this is all on players, and I think the community also needs to point some questions at Vitality. What is happening right now? Because this is unacceptable.
Yeah, because, I mean, it would be easy to write this off, right? Like, it's a very young team, their first split. They don't expect to make playoffs. We have other young teams, though, that have been able to make that push. So now, when we see those highlight moments from a player like Skeens in the jungle, when they bring in players, I thought Steelback had a pretty solid showing, too. Like, they need to be able to harness that and push it to the next level.
I mean, I think the criticism is extremely fair, and Vitality are a team that have had moments. There's been a couple of games that have gotten away from them, in in the late game. They have been pretty even for long periods of time. But as we said, we just haven't seen that development. We haven't seen the proof in the pudding for the squad. And today, they are going to be the heavy underdogs against Rogue.
Yeah, I mean, they absolutely will. And we set it up at the start of the day. Can they be a heartbreaker for a team like Rogue that is borderline playoffs? That is their mission now, to try and make as many people really unhappy as possible.
Absolutely the case. Let's see if a change in Vitality breathes new life on the Rift, or if Rogue can take one step closer to the postseason.
Thank you very much, Quickshot. I'm Medic. I'm joined by VODS, and we are ready to get on into week 7. Split's gone by so fast, VODS.
Yeah, it's gone super fast. And for Vitality, it's kind of do or die right now, Medic, because a loss here is going to make their road to playoffs
impossible.
Impossible.
Yeah, then they can't get to playoffs if they lose this game.
So there are a lot of stakes on the line, and the man in the mid lane, Selfie, has come to try and help Vitality out of what is a very difficult situation. We've already heard it from the analyst desk. Frost talked about, will Selfie necessarily be the solution that this team needs? A lot of question marks. I definitely know that Seiken got quite a lot of criticism thrown towards him over the last few weeks, and we'll see if Selfie can be that change that the team needs. I'm excited to see what they can do. I think the Skeens has had a pretty effective early game, but I think that when you look at Rogue as a team, something that Inspired often showcases is a very similar playstyle to that of Xerxes, which is track, control, mitigate. Because a lot of Rogue's advantages come from just their strong laners across the board. Larson, Finn, Hansama, all very talented players that if left isolated in terms of their 1v1, they often come out on top, even in matchups that they're not supposed to win. So an extending laning phase where they're just free to farm, where they get to control the pace of the game, that is the game, the play style rather, that Rogue love to adhere to. So the question is, can Skeens and Selfie upset that?
Can you throw a wrench in the works if you're the draft as well for Vitality? Because of course Duke, when he was on Splice, was known for those more scaling comps, those late game comps that played around team fights a lot of the time. Here, you're saying if you do that into Rogue, they're likely just to be able to outskill you because of the mechanical prowess of their laners.
Well, it depends, because what we've also seen from recent weeks is Inspired has been way more gank focused. Whenever he gets his hands on the Lee Sin, level 2 ganks are plenty. And when they went up against Origin, Inspired got shut down and controlled by Xerxes. It was it was like watching an older brother beat down on his younger brother. He's trying to reach for the remote, but every time it's just out of arm's reach. And I think that Inspired has showcased that he can be that aggressive early game jungler, but for someone that can track you as well as you often track enemy junglers, sometimes it can be hard for you to have an impact. And if that first gank doesn't pay off for Inspired, sometimes he doesn't have those same follow-ups that we see from other junglers like Razork, who even if he fails once, he's like, I'm going to gank again and again, right? And that's what I admire a lot about Skeens. I think that even as a young player, he's showcased a lot of aggression in terms of his playstyle. Lee Sin is a champion that he loves to frequent and often plays towards top side. And I'm curious as to where they're going to put their focus. Will they continue to play through top side of the map? Will they stick to the strategy of trying to play through Cabochard? Will we see a little bit more investment into Selfie? New on the roster, returning to the LEC stage. How will